Hello and welcome to another episode of Death Metal Theory. Today I want to focus on the different scales that are most used in death metal. And a little theoretical excursus here. Technically, there is an endless amount of different notes, but it would be quite messy if we would use all those different notes. Therefore, some very smart people back in the days chose that for Western music, we basically just chose 12 different notes. So first of all, let me prove to you that there is an endless amount of notes. You can see it with the band. I go through limitless tones. Most of them aren't distinguishable, but there are a couple. It's just not the two. So we chose 12 different notes, and those are basically every fret is a different note, and octaves don't count. So for instance, this is an E, and this is another E. So this counts as the same note. Out of those 12 notes, we build different scales. And a scale is basically a selection of the 12 notes, and in a way that it transports a specific feeling. And now we are into death metal, because in death metal we want a specific feeling. We don't want to make the listener feel happy. At least with the music. I want to make him feel happy because he really likes what he hears, but he doesn't want to hear a happy tune. Therefore we tend to use scales that sound rather sad or mythical or whatever. A scale could be played in any key, but we guitarists and death metal bands tend to use the key that the lowest string is tuned to. So for instance, if your lowest string, as I have, is tuned to B, you tend to use a B scale, or whatever scale this would be. If your string is tuned to C, you would use the C scale, D scale, E scale, and so on. Or my second lowest string is tuned to E, so I either tend to use E or B, and with another tuning it would be, for instance, on a standard guitar, E or A. That being said, little further disclaimer here. I just show you the scales and I don't show you how to compose with them. And of course, it's not mandatory that a song consists purely of this scale. You can combine scales for different parts or even change the scale in the same part. You can bend the rule, you can break the rule, and especially in death metal that's really common. And as I said in episode 1, I break the rules a lot. But I think it's cool to know what you're actually doing. However, you don't have to know anything about theory and can produce great songs. So with this being said, let's dig into the first scale, which is the Aeolian scale or the natural minor scale. This scale basically sounds sad. I play you two examples, one in E and one in A. So those scales are the most often used. They can also be found in pop music, and they are the most common scales apart from the major scale, which is the Aeolian, in Western music. Another scale that is often used in death metal is the Phrygian scale, and again I show you two examples in E and in A. So you might have realized that the E Phrygian scale consists of the same notes than the A Aeolian scale, and that happens quite sometimes, that different scales consist of the same notes. Now you might ask yourself, well, how can I say what scale I play? It could be the Aeolian or the Phrygian. The note that you're playing most often, so the root note, this is basically your scale. So if you play E Phrygian, you would heavily focus on the E string with your riffs, basically like this, just a quick riff. Now I'm playing the was purely Phrygian, and now I'm playing the same notes, but I focus on the A string. The A string will be my pedal tone, and now it's more of an Aeolian feel. I hope I made the difference clear. If not, it's totally okay when you just use one of the scales and come up with a cool idea. And because again, in the end, it doesn't count if which scale you use. It just counts if it sounds good. When it sounds good, it is good. When it sounds bad, well, it needs work. Another scale that is often used in death metal is the Harmonic Minor scale, and the Harmonic Minor scale differentiates from the natural minor or the Aeolian scale in just a single note, and it's also heavily used in classical music. And well, here are two examples, again in E and in A. And with this scale, you have a different feeling, you have a different flavor, you can create more tension than with the Aeolian scale. Well, let me show you this quick example where I play in Aeolian. It's E Aeolian. And now in the same riff in Harmonic Minor. I feel that there is way more tension, and therefore you can use the Harmonic Minor scale if you want to create tension again. So all the scales mentioned before are mostly melodic scales, so they are tend to used in a melodic context, and if you are more into a rhythmic approach or in between, you want to create a spooky and a mythical atmosphere, you might want to use the whole tone, half tone scales, and I'll show you both examples in E. First of all, the half tone, whole tone scale, and then the whole tone, half tone scale. Both those scales are heavily used in death metal, mostly in chordal stuff, because they also create some tension, and well, you can't really solve this tension, you can keep it up quite some time, it just really sounds brutal, and I really love it. And of course, the last scale to use if you want to have no boundaries is the chromatic scale, that consists of basically all the notes. Some bands use this exclusively, like Blotted Signs, and other bands just use it for a specific part. Example, some technical death metal bands, they have some chromatic parts, or they have in a different part, just a bar with a chromatic run or whatever to create some additional tension or to make a modulation. That means you go from one key to another key, maybe with a chromatic part. So this is just a brief overview of the most common scales in death metal. And let me know in the comments or with the like, for example, if you want to see more tutorials where I focus on a specific scale and, well, give you some theory background, how to compose with it and what you can do with it. Just leave it down in the comment section, and then I'll do a whole series about those scales, and each video will be focused on one specific scale. Leave also in the comments if you know any other scales that you heavily use, or if you maybe want to know what scale a specific song uses. I'm happy to read this, I'm happy to react to those comments and maybe do another video. And if you want to support this channel, check out the links in the description. And with this said, thank you for watching, don't forget to subscribe, may the force be with you and have a nice day.